Right, hello everybody, welcome to the Adam Clery football channel where Michael Carrick is the new Manchester United manager for a bit, and if you are a Manchester United fan, you're hoping that's going to make things better for a bit. So the question is, will it? And what will it eventually end up looking like? Well, straight in here, I want you to take a look at this situation from Middlesbrough versus Hull a few months after Carrick took that job. First off, you've got 5 in the forward line here, albeit these two are slightly deeper, but there's nothing doing for them, so they recycle the ball, and when they do, you can see they're building with a 3-2 at the back. And that is all very straightforward. You see the top clubs in the Premier League do that all the time. But a few seconds after probing down the left, getting nowhere and trying the right instead, the centre forward drops to get on the ball, turns and plays in the left winger with this gorgeous pass into the space. He advances on goal and duly scores. Now, yes, you're right, that is maybe the worst piece of goalkeeping you've ever seen. And also, yes, you're right, it was absolutely probably a cross, but regardless, it does neatly illustrate the major thing Carrick is going to try and do at Manchester United. So just for now, remember that clip. Now, to start with the fundamentals, Michael Carrick has almost exclusively used, both at Middlesbrough and his very brief stint at Manchester United, a 4-2-3-1 shape that, as you've already seen, morphs into a 3-2-5 when they are in possession. And this is a system that has become very, very popular in the last couple of years because if you take a look at it here, it allows you to be dominant on the ball and have high possession because you've got 4 central midfielders in this area of the pitch, but at the same time, still 5 in the attacking line, which will normally outnumber a back 4. And crucially, if you lose the ball, you've got lots of different ways you can go and get it back, or if you can't get through, you can recycle it very easily with the players in this part of the pitch. And as a result, in his first season at Middlesbrough, they had some of the highest possession in the league, and in his last, it was only marginally down from that. In fact, even though he failed to get them promoted across 3 consecutive seasons where they were loosely, if not largely, fancy to do so, all of their underlying numbers suggested that they should comfortably have gotten into the playoffs. They were just maybe a little bit unlucky. Only Leeds, who were on a mad one last season, created more chances or had more shots on target. Their XG was 3rd, which is really, really good. And obviously it's a 40-odd game season, so it's considerably more complicated than this. But in really simple terms, what let Middlesbrough down last year was shot conversion. They were down to 18th for goals per shot, so they weren't being clinical, and their XG differential was negative, so they should have had at least 5 or 6 more goals. And if you remember that they're only like 4 points outside the playoffs, that's 2 or 3 more results across a season, and 5 or 6 more goals almost certainly gets you 2 or 3 more results, so they can feel a little bit unlucky. But if not getting Middlesbrough promoted feels like a little bit of a red flag to you, right? Keep in mind he's doing this on about half the budget Leeds and Burnley had. So 10th last year was about what's expected, and the 2 seasons before that, actually pretty impressive in that context. But anyway, yes, back to the system, right? What tended to work pretty consistently well for Middlesbrough was when they got these 5 players in the attacking line. And the reason I showed you that goal at the very start is because this man here is not the left winger. That is in actual fact the left back, Ryan Giles. And when Middlesbrough were at their best in that first season, he is what made them sing. He got 11 assists that season, nearly twice as many as any other player in the team, and this super aggressive fullback play is pretty much the core component of how Michael Carrick builds his teams. But he doesn't start immediately in the forward line the way you might necessarily expect. He takes more of a conservative starting position, and as the play builds through the thirds, he waits for his moment for the left forward to take the defender inside and then bursts into the space. So here, Borough get forward and it goes into the feet of Riley McGee, who's the left winger, and you will note that Giles is not currently in the shot until bang, he is. But the fullback is locked on to the man in front of him here. He can't just leave him and go and cover across, even though for some reason the centre-back is pointing and telling him to do that, even though they're both like 10, 15 yards away, which is odd. Anyway, he steams in, hits a first-time early cross, and Middlesbrough get one of the 11 goals he assisted from that. Likewise, against Reading, twice in the same game, he gets in behind a fullback that's preoccupied with the winger, delivers early, and both of these situations wind up being goals again. And the two major things you'll notice about all of those situations, right, are that A, one, he is not in the last line, the attacking line, when the move is starting, and B, two, right, he does not hold on to the ball unnecessarily. He does not try and get additional yards by cutting into the box or waiting to see what's available. He hits it early. And the reason he delivers it so early is because it stops the defence getting set and more often than not can wind up catching them out. And those 11 assists, by the way, they should have been like 20 or 25. If you go back and watch Middlesbrough that season, there are so many examples of them manufacturing this exact situation and just being wasteful with the finishing. Now, the thing is, Giles was only on loan and left at the end of that season. So Carrick, instead, decided to tweak it and try and do the same thing, but this time with Luke Ayling, the right back. He encouraged him to get all the way up the pitch and try and do a similar job. It did not work anywhere near as well. They tried a few different things across the season, but lo and behold, Ayling was still the team's top assister and had more crosses into the box that season than any two other players. And what you can take from that as a Man United fan is that there is a level of pragmatism in terms of how you go about things, but still a really strong belief that you should be getting aggressive play from at least one of the fullbacks. And in fact, if you go back far enough to his time at Man United, that 3-game run he had, which, by the way, that's unbeaten against Emery, Arteta and Tuchel, just FYI. It coincided with the best run of form Alex Telles ever had in the shirt. And obviously he scores that absolute worldie against Villarreal, but if you go and look at Manchester United's attack map from that game, so which areas of the pitch were they most dominant when they were attacking, and then, just take that in for a second, you overlay his personal heat map from that match, you can see that he was pretty much playing as the left-sided forward when Jadon Sancho tucked in. Alex Telles put in 8 crosses in this match all by himself, and the next highest player anywhere on the pitch was Bruno Fernandes with 3. So this is almost exactly the same thing as he was having Giles do at Middlesbrough. You can see the vision. Now, look, obviously there's a lot more to Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough than just they push one of the fullbacks really high and that's how they create their chances. Like, for example, they are unusually adept at switching to counter-attacking play when things are not going their own way. Small example of what I mean here, like last season they played Luton, were not at all at it in possession, and Luton actually wound up having more of the ball in the first half. So like midway through that game, they adapted what they were doing to just sit a lot deeper and start trying to hit balls in behind. Ayling should score from this cutback from Doak. They get another one later from the exact same situation where they do score, and then they hit a fourth by just doing it right through the centre of the pitch. And they're also very rigid about wanting to play out from the back, and that was one of the major criticisms he got while he was at the club. I went to double check this with Borough Breakdown's Dana Malt. Hi Dana, and she said what ultimately undid Carrick at Middlesbrough was, and I'm quoting here, "We conceded so many pig shit goals." Like in particular, she pointed out they took a 1-0 lead to Chelsea in the Carabao Cup semi-finals, and instead of being as solid as possible to make the game really tight and difficult for Chelsea, they just kept trying to play out from the back and got hammered. Early on, there's 2-0 challenges here that allow Chelsea in to score, and then in both halves, they managed to get caught in possession really, really deep. Like that first one there is for Cole Palmer, and this one, even worse, I think, is for Madueke. So, yeah, nowhere near as uncompromising as Ruben Amorim was, but still a degree of stubbornness in terms of doing what he wants to do, regardless of the opposition. Now, some people call that having a philosophy. Others call it really fucking annoying, so I'll leave that to you. But yes, anyway, my point is that there was a lot to his Middlesbrough side and thus to him as a manager, but the reason I am hyper-fixating on this fullback thing is because it's the most pertinent element of his managerial style when it comes to working out what he's going to do at Man United, which is what we're going to look at now. Because out of all of Man United's current fullback options, the thing you need to strike between the two is a balance. If you want one of them to be spending most of the game at the very top end of the pitch in this attacking line, then they don't just need the engine to be able to get up and down, but they need to genuinely be able to make things happen. They can't just be a body all that way up the pitch. They need to have proved they can create things in the Premier League. But for that to work, you need somebody on the other side who is very comfortable tucking in as a 3 when needs be, but at the same time can still play as a proper fullback, getting up the pitch when the situation demands it. You can't just stick a centre-back in there who's got nothing else to their game. If I'm trying to imagine, right, that I'm Michael Carrick, which is not that difficult because he's from Wallsend and I'm from North Shields and it's like 4 or 5 stops on the metro, something like that. If I'm trying to imagine I'm him, I think there's 2 really good options here. Either Patrick Dorgu at left-back, just hear me out here, right, and Yoro or Mazraoui at right-back, or Luke Shaw at left-back with Ahmad at right-back. Now, both of those ideas, yeah, I can already see the face you're pulling, both of those ideas have positives and negatives, but the main positive amongst all of them is that one of them keeps Ahmad in the team. And don't get me wrong, I think Dorgu was quite unfairly maligned given he's still only 21. Like, these are his numbers here from just this season. And yeah, all right, this is the fullbacks category and he's been playing more as a wing-back. So there's a slight advantage there, but just go with it. He still gets through a lot of work going forward. His carries are excellent. His passes into the final third and penalty area are excellent. His crosses are excellent. And he's no slouch defensively either. And granted, yes, when you watch him, the eye test tells you that while a lot of the stuff he does might be high volume, it's not necessarily high quality, but I would imagine if this was the only option available to Michael Carrick, he would be very happy to try and use him in that Ryan Giles capacity. He'd be quite excited about that. You could then use Mason Mount in front of him as he's very adept at that start wide and come into the central area. You've got Bruno Fernandes in the 10, keeps him in at the final third, and I think it's not perfect, but that is still an attacking line that could cause a lot of teams in the Premier League a number of problems. You'd probably then have Mainoo and Casemiro behind all of that. And just to agree with the quite literally millions of Manchester United fans who think this team needs a dominant in both boxes, all action, really physical, really technical central midfielder, yes you do. But the issue with this system is the personnel. You now cannot have Ahmad unless you drop Mbeumo. You cannot have Cunha unless you drop Sesko. And yes, obviously, it's a squad game these days. You need to think beyond just having 11 players. But Man United are now famously in a 40-game season. They have nothing else going on in their week. They should be able to go into every single Premier League game with their strongest 11. And if 2 players who are very good are not in that, they're barely going to feature. So, with that in mind, I think, honestly, there is a world where Michael Carrick may attempt this. You go with Luke Shaw at left back, so he can tuck across and give you a nice back 3. Ahmad now at right back, so he can be that player that plays at both ends of the pitch, which allows Mbeumo to play more centrally as he tucks across. Bruno Fernandes also in the 10, and Cunha out on the left, which gives you, when you're in your attacking phase, your 5 best attacking players all in that line. And it is mad, obviously, that is how 8-year-olds play FIFA rather than how actual football managers manage actual football teams. But I do think at certain times or in certain games, you will see it. It puts all of your best players in that attacking line. It allows Bruno Fernandes onto his preferred side in the final third, and he can rotate with Cunha a little bit to allow him nearer to the goal. I think, yeah, it's nuts, but it is doable. And don't get me wrong, if this is me, I'd probably go with Mount from the start rather than Cunha because he can rotate with Fernandes in that sort of position as well, offers you a box threat, and is, I'll be kind and generous here, slightly harder working out of possession. And also, the glaring issue with this team, just to rewind it a bit, is I have literally said in videos about Ruben Amorim that if you are forcing Ahmad to be a defensive player, then it is not his fault what happens when he's defending. It's yours. In any game where he winds up getting forced back, that is going to be a massive weak spot that other teams will target. But the difference here is that by having Mbeumo directly in front of him, rather than one of two 10s who's playing a lot more centrally, that will give you and him a little bit more protection. And also just Matthijs de Ligt being back in the team will help everybody around him, regardless of how natural they are in their position. So I do think there is more defensive stability to be had, even if you're playing it on like super duper max attacking mode. So yes, I think if you're Michael Carrick, you know exactly how you want this team to operate. The only decision you have to really make is, are you more comfortable asking a defender to be a member of your attacking line, or asking an attacker to be a part of your back four? Whichever one he thinks will work better, who knows, he might change it between games. I think that dictates the rest of the selection. But what about Kobbie Mainoo? Adam, he's a central midfielder and Michael Carrick was a central midfielder. Do you think he's going to get more games under this manager now? Because we all think he's so great. And yes, I do think that. I think Kobbie Mainoo will start every single game under Michael Carrick because Kobbie Mainoo is amazing and Michael Carrick, as far as I'm aware, has never been kicked in the head by a horse. I think things in general will just get immediately better for Manchester United, but the one area of concern I would have if I was you, Mr. or Mrs. Manchester United fan, is that Michael Carrick has proved he's a manager who can get a really effective and ambitious attacking game plan off, but there is very little evidence to suggest he's as good at coaching his teams off the ball. Like, as I showed you, last season they created enough chances to get into the playoffs, but when you look at the shots on target and the XG against, they were way down in mid-table. They had almost the same XG against as Luton, and Luton got relegated, so that's not great. So yeah, there is a lot to like about what he's going to do with this team, especially in an attacking sense. Like, go and look up Chupa Akpom's career before Michael Carrick, during Michael Carrick, and after Michael Carrick, and tell me that does not bode extremely well for Benjamin Šeško. But this is still a team with a lot of frailties, especially defensively. And if he can't get things going at this end of the pitch, he's going to really struggle to improve things at this end in the time he's got. But as ever, that's like just what I think, isn't it? I'm far more interested in your opinion, again, Mr. or Mrs. Manchester United fan. Are you excited about Carrick getting a couple of months? Would you rather have had Ollie? You could have had Ruud. Would you have rather actually gone and got your proper manager immediately to give them the rest of the season? Are you a little bit sort of put out that they've said definitely 100% no matter what he does, he is not getting the job? Is that a bit unfair? What if he wins every single game 11-0? Would they still not give him the job then? All thoughts, all feelings, all like songs of your heart, welcome in the comments down below. We do dearly love attempting to read as many of them as we can. You can also get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. If you have not already subscribed to us here at the Adam Clery Football Channel, can you not see how close we are to 200,000 subscribers? I'm going to be unbearable when that happens, so if you would like to be part of the problem instead of the solution, you can click that little button. You can join us. We make videos like this all the time, and if you like them so much you'd like to tell us which videos we do make, you can also become a channel member. They got to pick a video this week, and I haven't looked at the poll yet, but that will be very good. You also usually get a video early. Until next time though, that is simply just what is happening at Manchester United this week. Boy am I glad I'm never going to have to do another why the 3-4-2-1 system does not work for them video. Late Christmas present from Ruben Amorim, that. Getting the sack. I hope he's doing well. He always strikes me as a very nice chap, and I've heard that he is, so I'm rambling now. Goodbye.